1833 AD, 57:27 AM. A spectacular meteor shower is viewed over the United States in November 12 to 13th. The island of Taranaki vanished in the Pacific with all of its inhabitants. Search vessels found no trace of the island or any survivors. At Lompoc Ranch, California, soldiers excavated among carved shells, huge stone axes and blocks of porphyry with an unknown script the skeleton of a man that once stood 12 feet in height and had a double row of teeth. Interestingly, the Hulin section of the Berakthos of the Babylonian Talmud states that giants before the flood had numerous rows of teeth. More gigantic humans were found with double dentition inside a mound near Clearwater, Minnesota. 1. Prophets of Doom. 2. Riddle of the Pacific. 3. Lost Cities and Ancient Mysteries of South America. 4. Secret Cities of Old South America. 5. Lost Cities of North and Central America. 1834 AD, 57:28 AM. The horrific Spanish Inquisition ends, this being 1296 years, 432 times 3, after the emergence of the papacy as supreme over all Christendom in 538 AD. In October, a fire destroyed the two Houses of Parliament, known as the Great Fire in London, 168 years after the Great Fire that destroyed London in 1666. 168 years is 24 times 7. 1835 AD, 57:29 AM. President Andrew Jackson was targeted for assassination by the international banking cartel begun by the Rothschilds. The firing of 2,000 federal employees was the first trespass he committed against these incredibly powerful men. Then in 1832, Jackson vetoed a request for charter renewal for the Second Bank of the United States, also owned by the Rothschilds. Now in 1835, an assassin attempted to shoot the president first with one pistol and then another, both pistols misfiring. Jackson was a true American hero, and sadly there were two other American presidents who also made war against the international banking cartel, and both of these men are still famous and both were assassinated, Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Even his brother Robert Kennedy would die for his meddling in the affairs of the world banks. On February the 20th at Concepcion, Chile, about 5,000 people died of an earthquake witnessed by the later-to-be famous Charles Darwin, author of On the Origin of Species. In 1835, the Liberty Bell cracked again. It had been recast with more iron than copper, while tolling the death of US Chief Justice of the Supreme Court John Marshall, a pure constitutionalist of the integrity that has not revisited the Supreme Court since. The Seminole Indians of Florida under Osceola make war against the United States for American intrusion into their lands. By 1842, they would be relocated to Oklahoma. Halley's Comet returned on schedule. 1. Synagogue of Satan. 1836 AD, 57:30 AM. In the 60th year since the Declaration of Independence, President Andrew Jackson keeps his campaign promise to the American people. He refuses to renew the charter for the Bank of the United States. It would be 77 more years before the Rothschilds are able to conspire successfully against the American people with the Rothschilds' brainchild, known as the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, which is neither federal nor a reserve. The Mexican army under General Santa Anna besieged the Alamo Mission Fort in San Antonio, Texas, killing all the Texans defending it, including the famous Davy Crockett, a former pioneer and congressman of Tennessee. Later at the Battle of San Jacinto, Santa Anna is defeated by Sam Houston, and the independent Republic of Texas is begun, no longer under Mexico. The US inventor Colt in this year makes the first Colt revolver. The story behind the independent Republic of Texas is little known. The Mexican authorities had no problem with American settlers living in Texas, provided they released their slaves and ceased the practice of human trafficking. The American colonists grew in number and did not comply with this condition, prompting Santa Anna's military invasion to enforce the no-slavery laws. The Americans fought back, and those that died in the Alamo did so defending their right to own slaves. The creation of the Republic of Texas was not over American freedoms, or even any political American ambitions for the acquisition of new territory, but for the continuance of slavery. The year 1836 is precisely 204 years, 2448 months before 2040 AD, when planet Phoenix causes a major pole shift that completely alters the distribution of land masses by 30 degrees. The sum of 2448 is representative of cataclysm, just as the 10 plagues on Egypt at the Exodus event occurred in 2448 Annus Mundi, 1447 BC. As Texas had its beginning in 1836, we find that it will end in 2040, for as revealed in When the Sun Darkens, when the lithosphere slips, the Far East from Indonesia to China will be thrust northward as North America on the other side of the Pacific will be shoved southward. The central United States will be flooded in a matter of hours, as the Gulf of Mexico remains still while the North American continent is thrust into it. The sea level will rise like a tsunami and rush up to the landmass, completely swallowing Galveston, Houston, Austin, Dallas, and Fort Worth, all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. When the lithosphere slips, the world's oceans initially stay in place, and the crust of the earth moves beneath them. North America will largely be under the Gulf of Mexico as South America is plunged into the Antarctic. The epicenter of crustal rotation will be northern Egypt, the site of the Great Pyramid. The destruction in the Americas is hinted at by the fact that 1836 is also 5208 of the ancient American Olmec calendar, this being 434 times 12. The sum of 434 is found in CHRONICON 1, refers to judged time. 1. Synagogue of Satan.